guys, it's Pia here, and welcome to the second part of my questions and answers video for my series LPS 7. A few words of warning here in the beginning. First of all, this video contains spoilers. If you haven't watched the entire series of 7, please don't watch this video because it will spoil the ending for you, and that's no fun because it's a surprise. The second disclaimer that I have here is that, as most of you probably know, I love to ramble, so this video is going to be very, very long. If you want to skip ahead to a certain question that interests you the most, please check the description of the video for the timestamps, where you can find all the questions and when I answer them. So anyway, I'm gonna start off by clarifying a few things because it seemed a little bit unclear for some of you what actually happened in the final episode. Once again, spoiler warning, these are huge spoilers for the final episode, so yeah, if you really want to watch this and haven't watched the final episode, then fine, whatever. But consider yourself spoiled. So anyway, in the final episode, Cassie faces up against the evil queen, and a lot of you were asking, like, is this Cherie, or is this her sister, or what's going on? And I don't really want to spoil things for a possible season 2, but what I want to say is that, obviously, as you can see, it was a dream, because Cassie did wake up from it. And so the evil queen that she faces up against at the end is some sort of representation of Cherie. It's not necessarily Cherie, and it's not necessarily her sister or something like that. It's more like a representation of her in Cassie's mind. So what I wanted to do here was that if she would have faced the evil queen straight up, immediately after arriving in this kingdom, she probably would have seen the evil queen in a very different light, because her picture of Cherie in her mind was that Cherie is spoiled, she's stolen Troy from Cassie, and she's just this really popular mean girl, and Cassie doesn't really like her. So I think if she would have met the evil queen straight away, the evil queen probably would have seemed a lot more evil, and Cassie probably wouldn't have been able to hear her out and wouldn't have wanted to hear her out because she would have just seen her as this really bad person. But throughout this adventure, as you guys could see, she both gets over Troy, kind of realizes that she wants to be friends with him again. She doesn't hate him or anything like that. She just really misses him as a friend, and she doesn't love him anymore. And she also sees that Cherie is actually a person with flaws, someone who's actually living a really lonely life. You might have missed the thing in the beginning of the series. I don't know if I even said it. I think I said it in the part in episode 8 with Envy. So Cherie and Chester are both adopted, and as you guys saw in the backstory for the kingdom, the princess was also adopted. So that's kind of like for Cassie to realize that this whole thing has caused a lot of sorrow in Cherie's heart, that she sometimes feels that her parents don't love her because they always want her to, you know, achieve really good grades and stuff like that, and they're sometimes telling her that, you know, she should do better in school, and she kind of feels even more insecure about stuff like that because she is adopted and she realizes that these aren't her biological parents. So that's kind of the whole thing with the evil queen as well, that she was also adopted, and those are some insecurities that she has, and yeah, it's hard to explain, but that evil queen was definitely a representation of Cherie in Cassie's mind. So I hope that that clarifies something. If it doesn't, I'm really sorry. I was rambling a lot, as you can tell. Another thing that I wanted to clarify, as I already mentioned briefly, a lot of you have told me that I should make a season 2. And I want to say that I already have had an idea for season 2 for a really long time. So even if you guys suggest some ideas, I already have basically the script for season 2. The only thing is, I kind of was worried that maybe season 2 will be too different from season 1, because as you can imagine, a lot of it takes place in the real world, and you're gonna see a lot more of Becca and Chester and stuff like that, and maybe just this kind of high school stuff. So it's kind of going to be a little bit different than season 1, and I kind of didn't want to maybe do a boring series, so it's hard to find a balance for me where I can show you something that's a good representation of what happens after season 1, but that doesn't get kind of boring and high school drama-ish. I hope that you understand that. But basically the only thing that's standing between me and a season 2 is just that I have very limited amounts of time in my life to do the scripting and filming and all that, because I have a child and he takes up a lot of my time, and obviously it's a huge commitment to do a second season. What I've scripted so far and the ideas that I have so far would be much longer episodes, and there would be 13 episodes in season 2. So as you can imagine, that's a huge project for me. So that's why I don't want to promise you a season 2, even though I really want to do one. But we'll see. And then another question that a lot of you had, which relates to both of these questions, was that Was it all a dream, or is it real? Because you can see Sam and Millie at the end of the final episode after she has woken up from her dream. And that's something that I don't want to discuss in this, because if I do a season 2, that's something that's going to be discussed a lot in it. So it's going to be a little bit silly if I answer it now, and then you have to deal with me talking about it a lot in season 2, if I make a season 2. But yeah. So I'm not going to answer that question. So a lot of you also asked me who is Millie's crush, and all I have to say is, really? You haven't figured it out yet? Yeah, just watch the series and watch it again if you didn't figure it out, because it's so obvious, and a lot of you have guessed it. By the way, I just wanted to say that that's something that has been there all along. It's not something that I've added because a lot of you people ship these two characters. It's something that's also going to be a point in a possible season 2. So yeah, I'm not gonna say it in case you didn't figure it out, and if you don't want to get spoiled for season 2. But yeah. So that's also something that I'm not gonna answer directly, but it's very obvious. A lot of you also asked me what inspired me to make 7. This is gonna be a long story because I love rambling, as I said. So when I had started my YouTube channel, me and my husband were out on a walk on a beautiful summer evening, and then I told him that I should come up with the best series ever. And I realized that one of the best ways to get inspired or get started is to think of stories that you really enjoy, and then kind of try to think of something along those lines and maybe come up with something of your own. So I immediately thought of Alice in Wonderland, and also of The Wizard of Oz, and just thinking of this girl that kind of gets transported into another world and then grows along the way when she's on that journey trying to get home. And so that's when I came up with that idea, and then I wanted to incorporate the 7 Deadly Sins because I just love the mythology around them. I've always loved the 7 Deadly Sins since I watched the anime Full Metal Alchemist a really long time ago. And so I thought it would be really fun if I would incorporate those as a way for the main character to evolve and grow. And then because I'm not very into stories where villains are just villains and don't have any dimension to them, so then I decided it would be fun to make the sins kind of misunderstood, or at least that they're not actually as evil as you think they are. So I had a lot of fun coming up with the story. It was actually really easy once I came up with the concept. The characters just kind of popped out of my mind, and I don't know where they came from. I just came up with the 7 main characters really easily, and also the 7 Deadly Sins personalities and all of that. And then once I was on my honeymoon in Barcelona in 2015, I scripted the whole entire thing in like 1 week, and it was amazing. It was just really great. So something that someone else also asked me that kind of relates to this is, if you could change something about the series, what would it be? I wouldn't really change a lot, but maybe I would have made the episodes a little bit longer, and maybe elaborated a little bit more, and I don't know, just maybe I wouldn't have rushed things so much, but that's just what I scripted back then, and I didn't want to change the script too much because I was happy with everything how it was. I actually did add one scene later on as I read the script, and I realized that it's kind of rushed in parts. So I actually added the scene with Lust and Millie when they confront Cassie about her feelings for Sam. I thought that that was a great scene to add, so that's something that I scripted a little later. But yeah, I don't really think I would change a lot. Maybe make the final episode a little bit longer, and maybe make the episodes a little bit longer in general. And that's what I'm noticing now that I'm scripting season 2. It's taking me quite long because I don't have any free time really, so I'm doing this in the evenings when I'm quite tired, so it doesn't come as naturally as season 1 came for me. But yeah, the episodes are quite long, and it's a lot of getting to know these characters on a much deeper level than in season 1, and you also kind of see more of Troy's and Cassie's friendship and stuff like that. So I would really love to make season 2, but we'll see if I have time, and I'll keep you guys updated about it. Yeah, so a lot of you also asked relating to that if there will be a follow-up episode, like an 11th episode to season 1, and that's a no-no on my part because I can't wrap things up in just one episode because of how complicated the story actually is. So yeah, I don't want to do a follow-up episode. It's either a season 2 or nothing. The reason also why I only wanted to have one season to begin with was because I wanted to leave it up to the imagination what happens after this, but then I realized there is actually a story to be told, what happens after season 1, so that's kind of why I also maybe just want to do a season 2 instead of leaving it at this. But yeah, we'll see. I'll keep you updated, as I already said. Okay, another question that's slightly shorter, and that kind of embarrassed me a little bit. A lot of you have asked, when I say in the final episode, see you at recess, A lot of you were like, what? Recess? What grade are these people in? And yeah, first of all, English isn't my main language, believe it or not. I'm from Finland, and I thought that recess was just a word for a break in between classes. So I wanted to clarify that my characters are actually 17 or 18 years old. So Cassie, Sam, Millie, Becca, and Chester are all 17 years old. They are starting the second year of high school. And Troy and Cherie are 1 year older, so they're on their third year of high school, which at least in Finland is the final year. I don't have a set place for where 7 takes place. It's not like I decided that it's set in the US or something like that. There's no set place for it. But so basically, yeah, Cherie and Troy are on their final year in high school, and the rest are on their second year. And a few other random questions. Someone asked me how many variations of Cassie are there. Because you saw the different outfits that Cassie had, they are 3 different customs. I'm just going to show them to you real quick. So here they are. So here's normal Cassie. Here is Cassie that was in the last episode. And here's the Cassie that was in the Greed episode. I had to zoom out a little bit because her headdress is really huge. These 2 will actually be for sale because I won't be using them. Even if I do a season 2, these won't be relevant to that story anymore. So I am definitely going to sell these 2. And I'm going to be putting them up on eBay quite soon, actually. So you can keep your eyes open for these 2 if you're interested in adopting one of them. So another random question that I actually already kind of discussed in the first Q&A. Someone asked me if Cassie's personality is based off of me. It is a little bit because I was a bit of a nerd in high school and I wasn't popular at all. So I kind of can relate to her struggle. I didn't want to be popular though, so that was fine. So in some ways, yes, but yeah, she's maybe a bit too kind-hearted, and good for me, I'm a bit more of a spiteful person sometimes. So yeah, in some ways yes, but in most ways no. Cassie's not based on me. Someone else asked me who was my favorite character to act. That would be Millie, because she's just so much fun to act, and I absolutely love her, and I hope that some of you changed your opinion on her, because she did calm down a little bit towards the end of the season, and that was kind of also the point. Towards the beginning, she was really anxious about Cassie being able to save the world and whatnot, and she didn't feel like Cassie was the right person to be the chosen one because she was insecure and stuff like that. But then towards the end of the season, she did realize that Cassie was the perfect chosen one because she had a kind heart and she wasn't tempted by any of the sins. And yeah, so she kind of understood that. But she did still want to tease Cassie in her own way, because that's just the personality that she has. She doesn't mean anything mean by it. And interestingly, relating to Millie, a lot of you said that your theories were that Millie was the evil queen, and I was like, what? Really? Millie's not an evil person in any way, and I actually said this in the first part of the Q&A. She's not malicious, she's not evil. She just has a very straightforward personality, and she just says what she thinks and wears her emotions on her sleeves and stuff like that. She's not evil, and it would have been kind of weird for her to help Cassie along the way, and then kind of suddenly be like, ta-da, it's me, the evil queen. Sam had no idea, even though he's known me for my entire life. So yeah, that's not, yeah, I don't know where you got that theory from, but I guess it would have been a good plot twist, but yeah, I don't write good stories like that. This is all I could come up with. Someone also asked me what was my favorite scene to film. That must have been the final scene, because it was just such a relief to get this over with. Yeah, that one was really fun also, just kind of setting it up, and yeah, I was just happy that that scene turned out so nice. I used the Sylvanian family's school for it, and it's so cute, so I think it turned out really adorable. Another scene that I really loved was, of course, the one where Sam and Cassie confess their feelings for each other. That was really fun. You're probably gonna see a blooper thing at some point. I actually didn't do that many bloopers because I record all the audio separately, but the audio that is recorded when I film the actual video of it is really different from what you see in the actual finished series, so that might be kind of hilarious. I hope that I managed to make a good blooper reel that you guys will enjoy, but that scene was just so much fun. You'll see what I mean when I post the blooper reel at some point. And a final little question before I wrap this up. Which sin do you relate to the most is what someone asked me, and it's definitely sloth. I could just lie around all day and not do anything. But then again, I sometimes am a workaholic, so yeah, even if I sometimes decide to take a day off, I might end up working anyway, so it's a bit weird, but I do love just relaxing and not doing anything. I wish I could do that sometimes, a little bit more often. But now that I have a child, I can't. And it's actually really funny. I asked my husband, well, actually I didn't ask him, I know this about him. I was thinking about which sin relates to him the most, and that would definitely be gluttony, because he just eats endless amounts of snacks and sweets and stuff like that. And he's a very thin person, so you wouldn't believe it. But but yeah, it's actually really funny that Sloth and Gluttony are a couple in this series, and well, me and my husband are definitely like those two. So yeah, that's my answer to which scene do I relate to. But yeah, I hope that you guys enjoyed this. I had a lot of fun filming this series. Thank you so much for all the support. You guys are amazing. Thank you for all the kind comments that you left me on the final episode. If anything, it has really inspired me to make a season 2, and I really hope that I can bring that to you at some point, but please don't hold your breath because it will take a long time for me to finish. As I said, I have very little time to do these things because of my child, so yeah, just bear with me and I will keep you guys updated if there is any progress on it. But yeah, I hope that you enjoyed 7 as it is, and I hope that you can enjoy it regardless of whether there's a season 2 or not. So thank you so much for watching 7, thank you so much for watching this video, and see you again in the next part. Bye bye!